In TMEA All-State Etude number 1 for the bassoon, Melody Concert Studies number 2, there's some places where we need to use better fingerings to help with note interactions here. So we're going to start with measure 4 to talk about this. At the end of the first group of 30-second notes, we have a B natural, and it slurs up to a high F sharp. These two notes tend to not like when they're next to each other, and so the high F sharp sometimes doesn't like to speak. So I will modify my F sharp fingering to use one less finger, and it helps this slur come out. So the fingering that I use here is on the top hand, second finger, resonance key on the pinky, and then on the bottom hand, first, second, and the F key. Now, normally when I play F sharp on the top hand, I include my third finger, but we lift it off when we try to do these kinds of slurs, so it makes it much clearer. Play around with that, see if it helps you get that F sharp out cleaner. Next place, measure 7. In measure 7, we go from a high A to a D sharp. And these are based on similar harmonics, which if you don't know what that means, that's fine. Just know that the reed wants to stay up near that high A vibration. You can hear that it's sticking up there just a little bit before it comes down. Because of that, we may need to add a finger on the D sharp to help pull the vibration back down. So for this, if you find that no matter what you do, you can't get this note to come out, you can leave your C sharp key down when you slur. It changes the tone on the D sharp just a little bit, but not so much that it's going to sound bad. If you don't want to add an extra finger, you just have to be really careful that the inside of your mouth is not collapsing, that there's a lot of space, that the tongue is not raising and we're voicing the note into a higher harmonic. We keep that space open and apart on the inside of the mouth. That will help the D sharp to A, or the A to D sharp come out better as well. Okay, next place. We have measure 8. We have another F sharp slur. Slurring up to that high F sharp, we do the same thing that we talked about in measure 4. We lift off the third fingering. The third finger. At the end of that measure, we have a B minor scale. Don't be afraid to abandon the whisper key so that your left thumb is ready to go into the low keys there. If you've got it married to the whisper key on the F sharp, it's going to be a little harder to get to the D key and then the C key for the C sharp and then the B key in time. So I release my thumb as soon as I go to that F sharp and then let my thumb travel over to those low keys. Next place, measure 9. If you watch the mordant video, you know that our E to F sharp mordant uses a trill key. Okay, it's the one that is just below our E hole. And so this makes that mordant a little bit easier to do and a little cleaner. On measure 10, we have E to G sharp in the mordants there. This is tenor clef, so make sure that you're reading the notes correctly here. When we go from E to G sharp, sometimes, just like with the D sharp and the A, the G sharp wants to stick up on the higher harmonic. So what we have to do then is we have to make sure that our half hole is exactly perfect when we slur down. Again, we also want to make sure that we're not collapsing on the inside of the mouth and we're not voicing that note higher with our tongue. Just keep the space open, the tongue low, and that will help the reed come down. If you're still having trouble, you can actually use your A flick key on the G sharp to make it come out. Just pulls it down. Again, just like the D sharp, adding an extra key on a note that we don't normally use that key changes the tone a little bit and the pitch, but if there's no other way that you can get that note out, that's an acceptable change. So feel free to add that. Practice these alternate fingerings where you need them. If you find that they're unnecessary for you, great. If you are finding you're struggling in certain places, feel free to use whatever works for you. The idea is just to make you as successful as possible, the most efficiently that you can be.